Hey guys, I'm Valentine, and today I'm here with my friend Sandy, and we're going to be talking about low points and actually getting up and doing things. She's definitely one of the most ambitious people that I've ever met in my entire life. To this day, has one of the greatest work ethics that I've seen in a person, and so is definitely excited to pick her brain and get some of her mindsets out into the public. We're also going to talk about dating as an ambitious person, and then just kind of see where the conversation goes from there. So, Sandy, I already introduced you a little bit, but if you'd like to introduce yourself in the way that you'd like for people to know you, go ahead.
All right, guys. So my name is Sandra Belmontez. I'm an online transformation coach. Been doing that for a while now. Own my own gym. Went to school at GCU. But all in all, just love working hard. Love meeting good people. And really just here to pick each other's brains too.
I like how you say meeting good people like we just met. Yeah. I've known Sandy for...
It's been a while now.
It's been a hot minute.
What, 7 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So, okay, so right now you are on your journey to becoming an online fitness coach. Well, you already are an online fitness coach, but you're becoming on your journey of building up that business. And you just came from a physical gym as well.
Yep.
And now you're transferring back into a physical gym.
Yes.
So it's
supposed to be a secret, but yeah.
Oh, is it a secret? Yeah. I mean, I won't publish this till later, but that's really cool. So what got you into the fitness industry and actually starting a whole career focused around fitness?
All right, so that's kind of a long answer. Can't really give you a short one to that. But when it comes down
to... that's all the time we have today.
All right,
when it comes down to what?
It really comes down to my reason why, and like why I'm here, and like my purpose, which is really just to make sure that I'm serving my community. And when it comes down to serving I always think of my grandparents, of like my reason why, because they're the ones who were born in Mexico. They didn't have all the resources, and when they were looking for medical attention, they don't like doctors. They don't go to doctors unless they're like physically dying.
And they were in Mexico.
In Mexico.
So even like Mexico doesn't have the same doctor resources that we do here.
No, like if you needed to go to some medical treatment, you need to go to like the main city, which is 2-3 hours away.
Gotcha.
So it took a while to get resources. And then they didn't have the best relationship, so they would have like, you put Vicks on everything. So it's like, all right, well, that's not really the way to fix any medical thing. So like going into that and finding resources and helping, I wanted to go into the medical field and help that way. But then I went to GCU, that's where we met.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. That's where we met, and then was a medical assistant for 3 years at a chronic pain and cancer center. Got to see a lot of things there and experience different things there. But then life kind of took a turn, and I am always saying yes to opportunities. Like I don't want to shy away from risk or anything like that. So I was like, all right, like why not go into the gym industry and make a change that way? So I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. So I met some business partners, met some good people then, and then took that from an in-person facility, was able to impact lives through teaching them like fitness, how to work out, what to eat, their mindset. So it was still the same basis or foundation, but just a different avenue, a different vehicle.
Right, it was still helping people because you wanted to go medical essentially for the reason of helping people with their health, and now your fitness, which is still is actually I think more hands-on in helping people with their health because it's not waiting until they are sick. You're actually in the prevention mode of it.
Yes,
that's cool.
I think that's like the biggest aspect of it is like as working as a medical assistant, I would work with PAs and doctors and be like, all right, like this is what you have to do and take these medications, but always make sure that you're like exercising, eating right. And they don't have that much time to actually implement those things and follow up with them. So that's where I come into play, be like, hey, you need to be doing these things. I can keep you accountable and make sure to prevent that.
Right, because PAs, doctors, you'll see them for 1 hour out of one every month or so, and that's for the older people. That's for the older people too.
When's the last time you went to the doctor?
Literally, like it's been years, but I'm built different. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's good.
Virgo.
But now you actually are in their daily lives, and you are actually coaching them. Well, you're telling them what to do, how to do it, the best ways to do it, and everything. With the experience that you had so far, and how long have you been doing coaching?
So I'd say in the gym industry, the last 3 years.
3 years, okay. In the last 3 years, what for you, from your perception, has been the hardest thing to get people to do when it comes to their own health?
So it's really changing their mindset when it comes to making any behavioral change.
I was expecting like dieting, exercise, so mindset.
Everyone knows you have to work out. Everyone knows you have to eat healthy. But the behaviors to leading to those things is what's stopping you. Like it's either fear of failure or you've tried things like so many different times and you're like, well, what's going to be different this time? So it's like, all right, what am I going to do to help you to make the daily habits to make those changes? Like if we do the daily things, the physical changes will come. So it's really like, all right, what mindset do I need to be in? What identity shift do I need to make so I can become that person?
Okay, so for you, what you're saying is that you work on the mindset so that the mindset will allow them to do the behaviors and the habits that build into the actual showing the progress.
Exactly.
Okay, so you start all the way at the mind.
Yep.
Okay, and so you already said it a little bit, but say it again. What are the mindsets that you see in people that are holding them back the most?
The most is, I think, fear of failure.
Okay. What does that mean?
So I've seen so many people where I was like, I've tried keto, I've tried intermittent fasting, I've tried literally eating like 800 calories. Like I've tried everything, or so they think.
Right.
But they just haven't had all the right tools and the right things in place to actually see the results that they want. Or they see them for a short period of time and then they go back to their old way of thinking. Because it's always more comfortable when you're like, oh, I can just chill here and be here. But at the same time, that's not giving you like the results that you want. So if it just is more comfortable to stay in the current state that you're at, but then when people are in more pain in the current state that they're at, that's when they're willing to make the change.
I think that's where so many people don't actually start doing their exercises and start doing the habits until they've hit rock bottom.
Yep.
And you said that on a reel. It was either a reel or story, but you said it as like some people have to hit rock bottom before they actually make those changes.
Yep.
And so you're in the battle against making people not have to hit rock bottom so that they can make those changes now.
Yep.
And not have to experience that feeling, because it's a shitty feeling.
It's a
terrible
feeling. And you don't want to be there.
Yeah, no, terrible. And then once you're there, the mindset is probably so much harder to actually change.
Yep.
And so, do you ever really get? I mean, people do get out of rock bottom, but the process of it is going to be so much harder.
Exactly.
Right?
And it comes to like right now, like it's December 26th. So like people usually wait until the first of the year.
Right.
So it's like if you would have started before Thanksgiving and I could have given you the tools to make it through the holidays successfully, then we wouldn't have to start on the first. We could have already made those changes and had a head start.
Right. They say, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago.
Exactly.
And today.
Yep.
And so with that being the hardest mindset that you have to fight as an online coach, what has been the best strategy, if you found it yet? Maybe you haven't found the perfect strategy, but what has been so far the best strategy to actually getting people to move past that fear of failure?
So I think it's different for everyone. And I think it depends on where they're coming from and what they've tried and their experiences. So I think as a person and as a coach, I have to connect with them and like really find out what it is for them. Okay. And then move from that avenue. Like it's not a cookie cutter approach. Like I wish it was. Like I'd be like, all right, do this, this, and this, and you're going to get that result. But I think as a coach and like really getting to know them and understand them and like their experiences, and then working from there.
Okay, so I actually think what I'm understanding from you is that there's not one perfect strategy, but what is perfect is just getting to know everybody.
Yep.
Right, so it's like, this person needs X, Y, and Z, but they all need to be understood.
Yep.
So for you, understanding your audience is really what is the best strategy for you to actually get them to start getting past those mindsets.
Yeah, that human connection. Because obviously I can give you the workouts, I can give you like the meal plans, I can give you all those things, but if we're able to connect and I understand where you're coming from, then I can really help you from there.
Okay. So let's talk about you as a business person and your journey as a business person. How has the last 3 years starting your own business been for you? The laugh right away says it all.
It's been crazy. It's been fun. It's been long nights. I'm an emotional person, so I tend to cry pretty often.
Gemini for sure. Just kidding.
But I mean, it's been, I wouldn't trade it for anything else. Like, I love what I do. I've loved every part of it. Some people are like, Sandy, like, how do you go out and like do all of these things? And I was like, well, like, I literally I have a goal. I'm going to go out and get it. Like, obviously I have the fear as well, of things not working out, of like businesses don't succeed right away. Like there's so many doubts that come into play, but I think if you let that take control, then like what's it? Why are you living? So it's like, all right, so I don't know, like I had this ambition of going to like medical school and going to PA school and like being in the medical field, but I think now being a coach and like being able to, like what we said earlier, prevent those things from ever happening and hopefully stopping it at step 1 before we're at like step 40. I think like I find true fulfillment in this. So like this is really truly where I want to be and like where I want to make a difference. But business itself is
Right, and that's kind of like the big difference is that there's passion,
yeah.
right, which is a very emotional, very driven type of mindset, type of game, let's call it.
Yep.
And then there's business,
Yep.
which people say there's no feelings in business.
Keep your emotions out of it completely.
Keep your emotions
100%.
out of business. Don't mix business with family.
Yeah.
Things like that, right? So people have two very different mindsets about passion and business. But you're having to mix both, which a lot of people have to as well. Those people who want to turn their passion into a business.
Yep.
You've given me a little bit on your passion. Talk to me about business. How has business been? What have been some of the biggest lessons you've learned in business?
Biggest lesson, know your numbers.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter what's going on, what is happening, if you feel good, if it's a good day, if it's a bad day, know your numbers.
What does that mean?
So
what kind of numbers? What are we talking about?
In the gym industry, you have to know how many clients are coming in, how many clients are leaving, the success rate, how long they're staying, how many people you're signing up per month. Like, it's all the numbers.
Right.
Total revenue, what's your profit. If you don't know those numbers, then you can't make decisions.
Right, your projection to where you're going
Exactly.
as far as like what you're
So
where
like
you're
if
at right
I
now.
need to hire someone, if I need to fire someone, if I need to bring in a new coach or bring in new people so I can just make my total revenue higher so I can meet like the monthly expenses, like all of these things, if I need to put more into my member retention and like make my members happy, so that needs to be where my money
Numbers
goes.
on numbers on numbers.
Exactly.
Okay,
It's
for sure.
all numbers. Like you can't make decisions, and then this is where you have to keep your emotions out of it. I think one of the hardest parts that I had to do was firing my first 2 employees.
Okay.
So that was something that I've never done before, and I literally had like heart palpitations that day.
Right, I remember.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is the first time that I have
That
to
was
do
really hard
this.
for you. I remember that. Yeah.
I just love everyone, and I want everyone to succeed.
Right.
But
Which can be very detrimental in business.
Yes.
Right. Great in passion, probably.
Yes.
But business, it can
and
be
this
detrimental.
is where you have to draw the line. Like, all right, what am I here for, and what purpose am I going to serve? Like, they weren't serving us at the time. Like, they weren't making the decisions that we needed to, and they weren't aligned with the company.
Well, and for I really think that at times, and I think this is kind of how you put the flip on that, is that your rejection of those employees is an opportunity for them to find somebody who's more interested in what they have to offer now.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think they're both better off now than
Yeah.
what they were in
Because
our
that
company.
was what, a year ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and you keep up with them.
Not
Well, like on their,
personally, yeah.
you stalk them.
Yeah. Yes.
On socials and whatnot,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and that's really what it is that rejection is really just another opportunity to find somewhere that's more interested in what you have to offer.
Yep.
And so that hopefully that's what that was for them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was one of the hardest parts. One of the best parts is having the ability to create something that like no one's ever done before.
Yeah.
Like you have that creativity and it's all yours. Like obviously I have to know my numbers and make decisions from that, but everything else is like up to you and how you want to run things.
Now you are somebody who works just all the time.
Yeah.
Right, like all the time. And I think a lot of people, the misconception, especially for the like youth, is that being your own boss is more lax than actually having a regular 9 to 5,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people are like, I want to get out of this 9 to 5 because I want to just have my own hours and do my own
exactly.
thing. It's not like that at all, is it?
No, not at all.
How many hours do you work per week, would you estimate?
Probably a good like 60 to 80 like actually working hours.
Yeah, I
Other
believe
than that is like filming or content or like something
Right.
fun.
So it's still work, but it's at least fun
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
That,
Yeah, you're also was coming from a clinic working 9 to 5. I was like, all
Right,
right, I'm gonna be an
right.
entrepreneur. I'm gonna be doing my own thing.
Uh-huh.
Now I pretty much work 24/7. So like I even like was working yesterday. It's Christmas. It's
Yeah.
like all right, like
that's something that was really big on my shift for what I wanted to do. What I'm doing now is that I used to want to open up a coffee shop, right?
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time. And then I don't know what book it was that I read, but I think it was, I don't know. But it was a book that I read that essentially talked about how, yeah, if you're going to have your own business, you are working like double
Yep.
of what you're already used to working for less money in the beginning
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's going to be a journey before you actually start making the profits that you're
Yep.
looking for. And so that's when I was like, okay, maybe the coffee shop can wait. Wait a little
little
more. And that's when
longer.
I got
Yeah.
into something else. So, but yeah, thank you. So as far as so you work a lot, but you make time for fun. Do you like your own work life balance?
I do. So being an entrepreneur and having like that freedom.
What is an entrepreneur?
Just having your own business, having fun, putting that passion and work ethic and business together.
Okay.
I think that's what an entrepreneur really is. But
there's just some big boy words, so I just want to make sure we clear that up.
yes, so everyone knows. Got you. What was your question?
Your work-life balance, do you enjoy it?
Do I like it? Yeah, I do. So with that, it comes with a workflow. Like, I had to get up 30 minutes earlier today so I could get my workout in and then still be here so I could go to work.
Right.
So, like, obviously, day-to-day things will change, but for the most part, like, I function off of the schedule. Like, from 8 to 3, I'm going to be doing this. From this to this time, I'm going to be doing this. So I'm going to block everything out my entire week, that Sunday before, and then I'll schedule in my fun time.
Who or what are you willing to break your schedule for?
Family and, like, close friends will always break the schedule. Everything else.
What if you're having a bad day? Will you break your schedule?
No. So then there's non-negotiables.
Okay.
So non-negotiables, I have 5 of them that I have to do every day. Doesn't matter how I'm feeling, what is going on,
okay.
whether it's Christmas.
So these are 5 listed things.
Yeah.
Give me a couple of them.
So I have to make 25 lead nurture calls. So that means people are going to be like always interested in the program. So I have to make 25 calls to get them scheduled. Because if I don't have sales, I don't have a business.
So it doesn't matter how you're feeling, what kind of shit day you've had, you're going to make those 25 calls.
I'm always going to check up on all my members, making sure they're happy.
Okay. All your members?
All my members.
That's cool.
So I will always check up on them, making sure that they're happy. If they have any questions, I will answer that for them. And then making sure that I'm writing down ideas for like content or like things to do in the future, or things that they're struggling with that I can make content on.
Gotcha.
So that's something else. And then there's other ones as well. But despite whatever is going on in my life, I have to
You're
get
going
those
to
done.
do those things.
Yep.
Nice. I like that. I respect that. Well, I want to respect your time. You did want to talk about dating as an ambitious person. So why did you want to talk about that?
Okay,
or talk to me about what you want to talk about that.
So dating as an ambitious person is just very hard.
What is an ambitious person, first off? How do you define that?
I feel like me in the current state that I'm in right now is I'm very focused on my goal of just growing my business. So I think me right now is an ambitious person. But I think the seasons change. So I don't know.
I got you, but the ambitious being that you have a goal, and it's not a short-term goal, it's a long-term goal,
exactly.
and you're going to dedicate the majority of your energy towards making that long-term goal happen.
Yes.
Okay, prioritize that.
Yes.
Okay.
But at the same time, like I'm willing to schedule in like the dating or like 25 swipes a day. Like
okay, that's a non-negotiable too. No matter how I feel, I'm going to get this match. Okay.
Yeah, okay, that was one of them. So it's like things like that. But like I want to meet someone that is just as driven as I am. But for those two people to meet, I think is very hard.
Yeah.
Because you're just so goal-oriented on your own things.
Both of those people aren't even looking for each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, how the hell am I going to meet you if you're off on your thing and I'm doing my thing?
And that's one thing that is interesting as far as like the self-help, self-love, self-improvement industry goes, is like they're always talking about how like you love yourself, right? And I'm very big on falling in love with yourself, right? So I don't think it's just enough to love yourself, fall in love with yourself. Very different things. But they're always big on that. But the one thing that you can't give yourself is romantically loving someone else.
Yes.
Right, which is a feeling of itself. You can love yourself, be in love with yourself, which is a beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
And somebody else can give you that, but you can give you that. But one thing that you will never be able to give yourself is romantically loving someone else, which is so fulfilling.
Yep.
Right, so these two people who are ambitious aren't even looking,
Yeah.
are not going to be able to give themselves that, but also aren't even looking for each other. So I imagine you run into, and these people run into a lot of people who are not as ambitious. And how's that?
And it's just been very hard to date.
Yeah.
So, like, I've been on dates and they're just lukewarm men, and I love them, but they're not the men for me.
Lukewarm by your standards, they are just not meeting those standards.
Yes,
Okay, what are some of your standards? $1 million a year.
Yeah.
5 Bugattis.
Yeah, exactly. No, they just got to be well put together, ambitious, driven, family-oriented, Christian, have a good facial hair.
Good facial hair,
Yeah.
for sure.
That's like one of the main things that I look for, actually. But if you don't have it, it's okay. Yeah, so like my family's like, especially coming from a Hispanic household and a Hispanic like
Right,
family. I
right.
should have been married 10 years ago, have 5 kids by now.
You should have 27
Yeah,
kids by now.
exactly. So it's like, damn, I'm not even dating. So that has been difficult within itself.
But when it comes to so really getting a little bit more serious on this, when it comes to dating, there's so many people that are pressuring people to date young, get married, and Gary Vee talks about this. I think Alex also recently talked about this. Infinite goals versus finite goals, right? It's like those are very finite goals. It's like get married at 20, get your house, have kids, 3 or 4, whatever, 17, and then what?
Yeah.
Right? So that's where I think a lot of people get stuck because unfortunately, and tell me how you feel about this. Unfortunately, the divorce rate is over 50%, right? So those people who are getting married, that's great that they accomplished that, but then, years later, 50% of them are getting divorced, and then the 50% who don't get divorced, let's say 50% of them are not happy. So it's a really the whole dating thing is just hard in general. I think not just for ambitious people. I think for everybody.
Yeah.
I think it probably is particularly harder for ambitious people, but it's definitely a very interesting thing when it comes to us as humans and marriage and dating. What do you think about that?
No, so I completely agree. Like, I think anything is hard, but at the same time, like, I think the hardest decision in life is finding like the right person.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be doing life with you. Like, if they don't understand you and don't like understand like where you're going, and if someone isn't supportive of me and my goals and my dreams, like, then I'm sorry, like, you don't belong here.
Right.
So, like, I think that is one of the hardest decisions. But once I do decide to get married, like, that is my person, and we're not getting divorced. Like,
right. Which in my opinion can have detriments of its own, but it's also something that like you commit. That's what Jordan Peterson says, right? It's a commitment, and as long as it's not completely toxic, right? Because you have to have lines, you have boundaries. As long as it's not completely toxic, then yeah, that's your person for life. And I've said that to friends of my own who are married. It's like, hey man, you're going through a tough time, but you don't get to give up.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you're married, you're gonna stick through this. And a lot of the times the problems that are problems are not that big of problems in hindsight.
Oh, exactly.
Right? You're like, we were fighting about that, or we were going through that. Like, it's crazy. So yeah, it's definitely just a very interesting thing, this whole dating thing. And we live so much longer than we used to too. Right? Because being married back then for 20 years, I'm kicking the bucket at 40, no big deal. Like,
we're good.
You're kicking the bucket at 120 nowadays, right?
I don't know about that long.
I don't. I do not.
Give me till 90. I'm good.
Give me till like 25, and then. but yeah, we're living double our life in the same amount of time as before, right? That's something that I've thought about a lot. Is that we are living so much longer, but we're not changing our life proportional to the amount of life that we're increasing, right? So technically, if we were to do that, we should be in school until we're about 30 something. And then then that's the phase where we should find our partner, get married, then have kids.
Wait.
I'm just saying, like, if we were to proportionalize it,
got
right?
it, yeah.
People used to live till like 40, and now they're living to 120. If we were to proportionalize that, we should be that same life taken and expanded out, like a scrunchie, should be so much longer in the youth part of it, right? The kid part of it. So be so much longer in the 20s. Should really be the 20s and 30s, which I really think is what it's becoming. So yeah, it's something that we are still trying to work out, and so I know that dating as an ambitious person for you feels hard, but I think it really probably feels hard for a lot of people. I think it feels hard for everybody.
I completely agree with that. Dating is hard.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Sorry, I kind of went on a tangent there.
No, I like it.
Okay, so last thing, kind of to wrap things up.
Yeah.
You started your journey 3 years ago.
Yep.
You started college, 7 years ago?
Forever ago, yeah.
Which is probably when you really felt, I think like the youth coming out of high school really feel like their life starts after high school. Mm-hmm. What is the advice that you would give to yourself, that person coming out of high school?
High school, Sandy? Not caring about what anyone else thinks. Like, if you are happy with who you are, that's all that matters.
Okay.
Because I feel like so many people focus on so many other, whether it's social media or like close friends, like they focus on all their opinions and what they have to say, but then they're not happy with who they are. So I think if you're happy with who you are and like the values that you're sticking to and living that on a day-to-day basis, then you're good.
Okay.
Because like I'm completely happy with what I've done and what I've accomplished and the person that I am. But I think if I were to listen to all the voices and everything around me, like I would have been a very different person.
For sure.
So I think.
Now, is that the same advice that you would give to yourself now on the journey that you're at with your goals?
No, it'd be different now.
What would it be now?
Now, I think don't let fear stop you, because I think that self-doubt always tends to creep in.
Mm-hmm.
I think doing the daily tasks of what I need to do to get my goal accomplished, and I know that I can be successful. It's only a matter of time. I think don't be afraid to fail. It's a part of the process. I built that gym with my business partners, and do I see that as a failure? Not at all. I had to step away from that situation just because it wasn't serving me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would see it as a failure because I had to step away, but at the same time, no, it was a way for me to learn.
Yeah, there's a lesson.
Everything is a lesson. You either are winning or you're learning.
Right.
So it's all right, well.
Yeah.
So I think don't be afraid to go out there, put yourself out there, and fail.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Appreciate
it was a pleasure.
It was good. I like it. So what's the podcast name?
Doesn't have one yet, actually. So we'll figure that out later.
All right, cool.
But
I like it.
Thanks for being on. I appreciate it.